Welcome back to Geeks Are Sexy with us, the unsexy geeks, the Geek Lounge. I am Luis Latore.
And I am Adam Smasher.
And you can find us on Facebook at the Geek Lounge or on Twitter at Geek_Lounge, where we try to post stuff as much as possible.
All right.
In honor of Fallout 4 coming out, it's been out for
It's been out a couple weeks now.
For a couple weeks now, yeah. It's an awesome game. In honor of Fallout 4, we're going to talk about some more likely apocalypse scenarios. I don't know what the compendium for an apocalypse is. Before we start, though, you have Fallout 4. I haven't played it yet.
I have. I do.
How is Fallout 4?
Good. It's fun. I'm fairly obsessed, to be honest. There are some things that are, I guess, unfallout about it, but
sure.
You know, when it boils right down to it, I still feel like I'm in an apocalyptic wasteland and I'm having a ball. So, by those terms,
the kind of thing you wouldn't have in an apocalyptic wasteland. A ball.
Well, that's because I'm not actually fighting super mutants and raiders every freaking time walk 10 feet.
As cool as that would be.
But in a game, that's actually fun because there's no real bodily harm. And I heal real quick in the game. So
yeah, you're right. I guess that's true. So we're going to talk about some scenarios that are more likely to happen than a nuclear fallout, which I guess you could say it could also happen at some point. But
well, hopefully not.
No, hopefully not.
There's certainly a fear in the 50s, 60s, and even 70s.
That is true.
And 80s.
So let's start off with our very first one. You know, movies like 2012 and San Andreas have us likely the same scenario where an earthquake basically opens up and swallows everything in its path, right?
Right.
I mean, but the thing with that is it's not very likely to happen because an earthquake only goes about as far as its what do you call
fault?
it? The fault, yeah. It only goes as far as the fault.
Well, it radiates out, so it gets weaker as it goes. Yeah.
Exactly. So the likeliness of that happening is not very high, but there is something that is lurking under the earth that could very well destroy us, and it's in the least likeliest of places, or if you didn't know. Do you want to know where it is?
Sure. I know where it is. For sure.
It's a place where hundreds, if not thousands, of tourists a day go to. It's Yellowstone National Park.
Yeah. Which happens to be a very large caldera.
That's true. And under Yellowstone is something that's called get ready for this totally original name.
Hollywood-style name.
A super volcano.
Yeah.
Now, a super volcano is, God, how do I explain it? It's a colossal volcanic explosion, much like a regular volcano, but far worse. And the one at Yellowstone has erupted before, as recently as 2,640,000 years ago.
Oh yeah, that was like a couple weeks.
That's not that long
in
ago.
Geological time.
The types of explosions that have contributed to mass extinction, like the kinds that contributed to the extinction of dinosaurs over 65 million years ago.
Yeah.
Now, these volcanoes, on top of being completely destructive, belched out so much sulfur, carbon dioxide, and ash that scientists have claimed that it altered the climate enough to collapse the food chain. So,
yes,
no plants means no animals. No animals means no food.
Correct.
If this were to happen now.
Yes. And it's a little scary to think about, but
it is.
I also think it's a pop culture apocalypse, to be honest. It's what's popular.
No, I mean, it's true. Yeah, like there was that one Dante's Peak, I think it was called.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But if you remember, though, Yellowstone is located in an area where we get most of our crops anyway, in that whole, I forgot what it's called, but it takes place where a lot of our American agriculture comes from. So should it ever really happen? I mean, could really, I don't know. Now, Yellowstone's volcanic crater has risen about 10 inches in the last decade, which suggests that molten rock may be building up underneath.
Hey.
And while it has been blowing off steam through little vents, such as Old Faithful, it's unclear as to when the Earth is due for another one, but some speculate that it could be very, very soon. Speculation, but it could happen.
I don't buy into that one. Of course, you never know, but what else you got?
You won't buy into it until it happens.
Correct. I'll believe it when I see it.
The next thing that I have is called this is going to sound odd, it's called a magnetic flip-flop.
Yes.
Now, it's natural for the Earth's magnetic field to flip-flop.
Actually, there's a very strong scientific evidence of that in the fossil records.
Yep. Now, it shifts all the time, and the last full switch occurred about 780,000 years ago. In fact, an average flip-flop interval is about 250,000 years.
Yeah. So we're overdue by 3 times.
Yeah, oh yeah. Unfortunately, the power of the Earth's magnetic field is diminishing, and in the last 100 years, its strength has decreased by 5%, which doesn't seem like a lot, but...
This is turning into a grim show.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the apocalypse isn't fun, guys.
The magnetic field sounds like something science fiction-y, but I'll let Luis finish what it actually does for the Earth.
Now, without the magnetic field, we would endure brutal particle storms from our sun, from space, that would destroy our ozone layer completely, and leaving us vulnerable to all kinds of harmful electromagnetic rays like microwaves, infrared radiation, visible light, ultraviolet radiation, X-rays, and gamma rays. And no, they will not turn you into the Incredible Hulk.
Nope. They will
On
kill
top
us.
of that, impacting the latter of the species that rely on them for food.
Yeah.
So organisms beneath it, such as fleas, rats, and roaches, would multiply, and that's not good for anyone. That, on top of being disgusting.
And then what else you got?
So the last one I have is so extremely likely to happen.
Yes.
Right now. It's called the greenhouse effect, and a lot of you might have heard of that.
Yeah, it used to be called global warming. Now it's called climate change.
Yeah.
We don't know where that's going to lead. Some people believe it's BS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now what happens with this is the temperatures will rise, which would melt the ice caps, which a lot of people think would cause flooding. That's partly true, but as the temperatures rise, the water would evaporate, making the atmosphere thicker, which would trap more heat.
Yeah.
And
cause
and cause the water to evaporate.
Releasing more methane, lots more methane.
Yeah, the polar ice caps hold a lot of CO2.
Yeah, and methane, which is far worse than CO2 as far as a greenhouse gas.
Yeah, and this could literally break the atmosphere. It could cause an initial it will cause an initial rise in temperature and start the water vapor reaction. We could be possibly heading for a world where tin and lead would melt instantly in our atmosphere.
So Venus 2, electric boogaloo.
Yeah, when all the water's trapped, about 99% of all life will not be able to survive there. And yeah, it would be similar to Venus's atmosphere.
This is a grim episode.
Yeah. and in Venus's atmosphere, it is so thick that the heat never escapes, causing it to get hotter, and, well, nothing would survive in that kind of heat.
Yeah.
And the worst part is that we would be able to do absolutely nothing to stop it. I would say we could lock ourselves away in a vault, but...
In light of all that,
still.
we're alive right now, and it's cold outside.
So enjoy it while you still have it.
Until the super volcano erupts,
Yeah.
and wow, that's a grim episode.
It is a grim episode, but people have to
Holy cow.
realize that as fun as Fallout is, a real kind of apocalypse would not be so much fun.
Yeah.
Except the zombie one.
No, that wouldn't be fun. That people would absolutely go batshit crazy.
No, you're right.
When
They
the
would-
dead
they would
come
go
up,
all kind of
it's
walking
not
dead,
like
yeah.
movies. The dead come up and your loved ones start to walk around. That's a whole nother world than
No, you're right. That's
than
right.
Night of the Living
Apocalypse, not fun, is the point of the story, is the moral of the story.
Dead. All right, guys.
Anyway, thanks for joining us. Remember, you can find us on Facebook and on Twitter, and we will see you guys next time.
Good night.
Good night.